Hello everyone, welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan, and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. So at this very moment, unless something weird happens with Steam, the newest patch for Warhammer 2 will go live. This is patch 1.12.1, which should have a few fixes coming up for multiplayer and a few things for campaign. Not only that, but there's a beta branch too known as the Cavalry beta, which hopes to fix all the issues with Cavalry. Now there's a few things that we need to talk about regarding both, so let's not waste any more time and jump right in. We'll of course start with patch 1.12.1. A few general changes are coming into effect, the first one being fixed issues with collision models on chariots which were causing them to be overpowered. The day of the chariot is over unfortunately, but at least we had a decent amount of time with that. Area of effect spells no longer affect units outside of their effect range. Never really noticed this myself, but then again, it's normally one of those types of spells that you set it and forget it. Fixed an issue where entities moving into a wizard casting a magic missile can cause the character to cast it again. Okay, so the machine gun fireball wizard is gone now. That's actually a really important thing as they got rid of the infinite magic bug and then this bug decided to make an appearance. It was incredibly overpowered in multiplayer and it's great to see that finally gone. And lastly, when a mod gives foreign slots to a faction that does not have them, the game no longer crashes on load. This is absolutely fantastic as sometimes, especially if you mod your game heavily like I do, this can happen kind of often, so it's great to see that happening. In most cases, when you would get a foreign slot, you would have to just abandon and then resettle the settlement, but the crash did cause a lot of issues and sometimes made the game unplayable, which means that you'd have to go a few saves back if you save often, which a lot of us don't, and then just destroy the settlement and then properly resettle it. Alright, now let's move to some Beastmen changes, as a few things needed to be fixed up. First up, Khazrak and Morgur. They can no longer re-emerge after their death. This is the event which sees more Beastmen factions re-emerging. I guess it's to stop the legendary lords coming back and being too strong. I mean, it doesn't really change too much, so it's perfectly fine. I didn't really notice it in the past because mostly at that point the Order Tide's there and they just get rid of them instantly. Fixed the bug where Khazrak couldn't use his abilities when mounted on a Tuskor chariot. I had this once, so it's great to see that gone. And finally, Khazrak now gives Razorgore chariots Vanguard deployment. Awesome, can't really complain about that. Now some changes for Taurox the Brass Boar. Juggernaut raiding stance no longer takes away the movement range increase from raising a settlement. Awesome, that bug is gone because stance switching was absolutely impossible and then you would have loads of issues where you couldn't move. It was just annoying. A maximum of 50 rampage can be earned through a single battle now, regardless of how many are fought. This prevents an infinite rampage bug where 150 rampage can be gained in a single battle. RIP Legend of Total War. I mean, it was needed because the bug was a bit ridiculous, but hey, you know, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And finally, in the Mortal Empires campaign, the objective to either raise, and I'm assuming that means all control settlements, now ticks off correctly. That might be a little typo there, so it'll probably be fixed by the time this goes live as we had this early, but I've never really encountered this bug, though someone must have. And now some general changes. Fixed an issue where Khaedon Unleashed would not unlock when requirement conditions were met. Awesome, that's good. Defiled Bloodground regions do not move to a new Bloodground in case of overlap when establishing a new Bloodground. Fantastic, this is a bug which was just causing a lot of issues, so it's great to see this being fixed. Fixed an issue in Beastmen co-op campaigns where a partner upgrading their starting hearthstone would prevent the user from upgrading theirs. That's great because I wanted to do a co-op, so now I'm able to. This is awesome. And finally, Tuskor chariot mounted heroes now count towards the hero cap. Yeah, this was a bit of an issue and it was kind of broken, but yeah, nice to see it being fixed, although it was a nice benefit. The Lizardmen are receiving some changes, so let's just go check these out. First for Oxeotl, Sanctum defense missions now display the correct amount. Never noticed a different change there, but okay. Increased frequency of medium and hard vision spawning, that's fantastic, that's really good, it's something that was desperately needed. And final quest battle will no longer expire. God, this was needed, because I had that happen a few times, it's like, why? There's a change to Nakai the Wanderer where all appropriate hold buildings within Nakai's faction now correctly affect new units and increase Skink Oracle capacity. Cool, it should have been done when the DLC launched, but hey, these things happen. And now some general changes. Made improvements to Coatl melee animations. Unfortunately, we were not given this build early, so I can't really show them off. fixed the bug where the Skink Oracle on the Troglodon was firing a double volley of the Troglodon's venom spit whilst on the move. Well, yeah, that was a bit overpowered, to be honest. It was a bit buggy too. And Temple of the Old One's ritual now increases Skink Oracle capacity. Okay, cool. That's actually really good. I'm happy with that. A minor change for the Greenskins, where they fixed an issue in Grom's final battle, where the player would be unable to control their units. Never really saw this, but I'm assuming it's a common thing if they've had to fix it. And finally for the vampire counts, remove duplicate White King button from the hero recruitment UI. And finally, Kevin von Lloydstein now correctly equips either skeletal steed mount when purchased via his skill tree. Cool, that works really well. Everything here from this is now live, or should be, unless Steam has done something weird as usual. So you now can play with all these changes. But now we're going to have to start talking about the Cavalry beta. The Cavalry beta will be a completely new branch where they're going to try and see what fixes could be done. This is tackling some major issues, like for example the underperformance of heavy cavalry and anything related to being countercharged by infantry. It's just a massive issue because cavalry was just horrible, and yeah, you can tell when it comes to Bretonnia or, well, anything with cavalry. We'll talk about the summary itself. Entities will no longer charge attack if their charge path is blocked by a friendly entity. This particularly affects infantry versus cavalry counter-charge interactions. This means that when an infantry unit charges into cavalry, the back ranks no longer get to charge attack as well. This reduces the damage dealt by infantry when countercharging, as fewer entities get an immediate charge attack. This helps cavalry trade more favorably with infantry, which is absolutely fantastic as, well, yeah, now cavalry charges should be a bit better, and if you charge a bunch of armor piercing or like spearmen, halberdiers and so on units, you're not gonna have such a bad time. The calculation for collision damage has also been changed. Previously, collision damage was increased by the charge bonus of a unit, which meant that high charge bonus cavalry would have little difference in collision damage between braced and unbraced infantry. This meant that bracing often didn't make a big difference for collision damage, so it would nearly always be better for infantry to countercharge. Now collision damage is just a calculation using collision power and not adding the flat charge bonus. This essentially means charging into braced infantry will result in much lower damage on impact than unbraced infantry. These two changes reinforce our intentions on how cavalry and infantry should interact. Cavalry should be favored in fights against counter-charging infantry. Of course, the relative strengths of the unit will also be important, and braced infantry should receive less damage than counter-charging infantry, so there is a benefit to bracing infantry against cavalry. So now everything should work as intended and how, well, physics work in general. So this should be quite good, especially since we know that, you know, with Warhammer 3, we've already seen some big cavalry units, like, for example, the Juggernauts, and we're going to expect some more when it comes to Sinesh and so on. Changes like this are going to be very, very important because I'm assuming that this also affects chariots too. There's a bunch of more technical stuff there, which I'm going to put on screen right now. I'm assuming this is more for modders so they know how to change up anything with regards to their mods and so on, because I'm assuming that most of us would not need to know this. Though it's nice that the calculations themselves have been put out there, so if anyone wants to know, they can. Now, it's rather interesting that obviously this means that 1.12.1 is not the last patch, and the Cavalry beta itself might be the last patch for Warhammer 2 if everything goes live as intended. It really depends. Of course, if anything is also broken, because usually when a patch comes into effect, something else breaks whilst other things get fixed. So we're gonna have to wait and see. I have always speculated that we are due an FLC, so the Cavalry beta itself could then lead to an FLC, because that's kind of what happened to Rakarth. We're going to have to wait and see. I wasn't wrong before, but I could be wrong now. Though it's nice to see that these changes are coming into effect. Better get done with Warhammer 2 before moving on Warhammer 3. Get this all sorted first, because yeah, you know, it's always good just in case people want to go back and play like the Eye of the Vortex campaign and so on. It's just always great. But what do you guys think about the changes? I think a lot of good stuff is happening here. If Cavalry is going to eventually get better, I mean, that's always great. It'll be very good for Bretonnia, for example. So we're going to have to wait and see with the beta branch, which should go live today. I'm thinking. Yeah, today. Remember, as per usual, you'll have to opt into the beta branch if you want to play with the beta changes. And yeah, it's always good to do and report to CA if anything is broken. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.